It's time for Ladies Can We Talk on 660 AM The Answer. Common sense talk with women and men about politics and standing up for America. With your host, nationally acclaimed speaker and author, Debbie Georgatos. Ladies Can We Talk starts now.
Hello and good evening and welcome to Ladies Can We Talk. This is your host, Debbie Georgatos. I appreciate your tuning in every Sunday evening for 2 hours. Fastest 2 hours of my week, I always say, and tonight will be no exception. I have joining me in my second hour my leading ladies, my good friends and buddies, Carrie Kellerman and Jenny McGarry, and I have a couple of guests this week. In this first hour, we'll have Judge Janine Perot, and she probably needs no further introduction than that, but I'll just say she has a Fox News radio show. I had the occasion to meet with her recently. I actually had dinner with her and had an opportunity to pre-record an interview this past week, and so I'll play that. And mainly it's about her longtime friendship with Donald Trump and what she really sees him to be like, and how she perceives him as a potential presidential candidate. And the second hour, we'll have Ambassador Robert Jordan calling in, and this is a live interview in the second hour. He is the author of a new book called Desert Diplomat, Inside Saudi Arabia Following 9/11. He actually became the ambassador to Saudi Arabia with no previous diplomatic experience after the 9/11 attacks. And as you well know, I'm sure, the main attackers in the 9/11 attack here in America were Saudis. And so it's a great book, and he's a very interesting character, so we'll talk to him the second hour. But the other things I want to try to run through tonight in rapid form, I want to talk with you in this first segment, this Speak Up for America segment, about this case that has captured the nation's attention. It involves a student in a local school here in the Dallas area, a young man, a 14-year-old named Ahmed Mohammed, and he attended MacArthur High School. He's 14 years old, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that case and really the important political lessons about that and speaking up for America and having integrity in our political conversation in America. Also, this has been the most amazingly busy political week. My husband and I attended the Donald Trump rally in Dallas this past Monday, along with many other thousands of other people. I share a few perceptions about that. And then we had the CNN debate, which was Wednesday evening this past week. And then on Friday, I was very fortunate to be in Greenville, South Carolina for the Heritage Action Summit. And they had actually a presidential forum. And I'll just tell you that it was a truly, in fact, I know you can go watch the forum. It'll be available on the Heritage Action website. I encourage you to do that because it involved basically all the major candidates except Donald Trump. The day of the event withdrew from the event due to a business challenge he had going on, I guess. But really, it was I'll tell you more about it later, but it was a fabulous event because it was kind of like, it wasn't a debate with all of them lined up, each of them kind of shooting off random, quick, 2-minute limited answers to questions. Rather, it was one person at a time on stage for roughly 25 minutes answering questions. I was honored to be asked by the Heritage Action organization, which is a sister of the Heritage Foundation, to be on stage asking the candidates questions. And it was very fun, just fun to go to, and the opportunity to have in-depth answers was really rich. So I really encourage you to try to go listen to that. I'll share more about that later. And we're going to talk a lot about the presidential candidates and the refugee crisis, so full show coming up. But turning to my Speak Up for America segment that I always try to do in this first time, in this first segment, opening segment, or actually on my new website, which I'll also talk with you about in a little while. We have ladiescanwetalk.org has a brand new website. It's really cool. I'll tell you more about that later. But I would call it on that website, I refer to these opening segments as my first 15, and they're actually on the new YouTube channel, Ladies Can We Talk, and they're on the website, ladiescanwetalk.org. And it's for guys, too. If you're a first-time listener, this show is called Ladies Can We Talk, but it's for everyone. And we have callers and guests, male and female. But turning to what I want to talk with you about in this incident that occurred here in the great state of Texas involving this young man. In short story, in case you didn't hear the story, this young man, a 14-year-old named Ahmed Mohammed, who attends MacArthur High School in Irving, Texas. He came to school this past Monday with a device that he showed. Said he has an engineering teacher, showed his engineering teacher, and told her that it was a clock. I don't know if the teacher is male or female, told the teacher it's a clock. I'm going to tell you, folks, for those of you who've watched Mission Impossible, which I have many times, 1, 2, and 3, over and over, if Ethan Hunt or anybody else in the spy world saw what this device looked like in this young man that he brought to school, it looked like a bomb. It didn't look like a clock. No one looking at it would say, oh, that's a clock. But he claimed to have built this clock at home, brought it to school, showed the engineering teacher, who told him to put it away and not to take it out. So he went on his way later in that day, and it beeped during English class. So he showed his English teacher, who immediately notified the authorities. And this is where the story is really, really important to understand the facts. When this young man was approached by the English teacher and said, "What is that?" she described his answers as evasive. He never said, "Go talk to the engineering teacher. That teacher knows all about this. It's a clock." His answers became evasive. It alarmed the school. And so ultimately, the young man ended up being, and the administration tried to talk to him at the school. Police came to the school. He ended up being arrested. As it turns out, this device is a clock. It was not a bomb. But if you happen to Google it, you can look online. In fact, we'll post on Ladies Can We Talk Facebook page what the device looked like. No one would look at it and say, oh, yeah, that's a clock. You would think it was a bomb. But the really important political context of this story, there are several extremely important points in America. One is we're constantly told at the airport and other places and public places and on advertisements that the government puts out, if you see something, say something. We have had terrorist attacks in America. We've had terrorist attacks, on 9/11, the huge attack. We had the Boston bombing. We had, and all performed, all these things were actions taken by Muslims in America. And we've had, the shooting at Fort Hood. We have Islamic terrorist attacks around the world regularly. This is the world's biggest security problem, is dealing with attacks performed by radical Muslims, performed in the name of Islam. So back to this case in Texas, it's very, very noteworthy to know a few things about this case, because the political spin that the American left took was immediately that this was an example of Islamophobia. This poor little child, this innocent, sweet child, came to school with an invention, and he ends up being arrested. He got invited to the White House by President Obama, I believe the same day, or the very next day, invited to the White House. You go, guy, great invention. Hillary Clinton had out a statement about it, what a great thing this was, and you keep inventing, and how terrible it was that these Islamophobic, intolerant, people in Texas authorities overreacted to this young man. Well, I'm going to tell you a couple of things. Number one, see something, say something, means something. There have been attacks where people later said, for example, the 9/11 attacks, some of those pilots who flew airplanes into buildings came to America and were trained by American pilots. And later, those training schools for pilots actually said to the media, we kind of wondered why they really didn't care about learning to land the plane. We kind of wondered, all they really wanted to know was how to get up to speed, up to altitude, and maintain a course. They didn't care about learning how to land. And so, we were naive then. I'm not blaming those people, but I am saying you have to be alert in today's world. In addition, this family of this young man is not an average, run-of-the-mill family who just had a child horribly mistreated. This family includes the dad and the family, whose name has been, and I urge you to read these things online so you have these facts for yourself. But the dad and the family actually had run. He is an activist Muslim. He had challenged in Florida the pastor who wanted to burn the Quran. He had tried many times to cause himself to be the center of attention dealing with Islamic issues. He'd run for the president of Sudan. And this family, in very short order, going from the kid bringing something to school that looked like a bomb, the kid had lawyered up. He had gotten connected with CAIR, the Council on American Islamic Relations, CAIR. That organization identified by the judge in the Texas case involving money being raised by a charity here, I think it's with the Homeland Foundation, and which was raising money and funneling it back to terrorists in the Middle East. CARE is named as an unindicted co-conspirator. CARE is connected with the Muslim Brotherhood. CARE is an active organization in America supporting radical Islam. This family had hooked up with CARE. They had failed to show up at a meeting that was called with the school officials because they're too busy giving a press conference with CARE. And in that press conference, one thing the family said was the family says their beef is not with the Irving School District or with the police. It was with the city's political leadership, starting with Mayor Van Dyne. So back up, you may recall several months ago on this show, we had Mayor Van Dyne on this show. She was among the brave leaders in Texas who stood up and said they, in Irving, passed a resolution, her city council passed a resolution supporting the adoption in the state of Texas of American law for American courts. And so Beth Van Dyne has been a target of Muslims in this state, and especially in this area of North Texas, since the time they passed this resolution supporting American law for American courts. And they did it because in Irving, in the area where Mayor Van Dyne is the mayor, there was the beginning of a Sharia law court, which is one of the main reasons we in America, conservatives, and actually many just America-loving people, don't have to be conservative, don't want to have a separate set of laws start in America, a parallel set of laws. So we have certain segments of American society who are subject only to Sharia and not to American courts. This is why they want that ALAC law, American law for American courts, why Irving passed that provision. So I raise all this to say in the Speak Up for America segment this. We are pummeled in America by political correctness, by the willingness of the left, of Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and the media to pounce, to falsely portray American society as deeply Islamophobic, that anything that is not immediately understandable or explicable, they will pounce and say, you see, there's just an example. The right, the conservatives, the Christians in this country, they're intolerant Islam, and that is a lie. And it's important for informed citizens to say so, to agree it's a lie, to speak up for Mayor Van Dyne, to speak up for that school. It may be that walking, a friend of mine commented, well, they did put this kid in handcuffs and walk him out of school, and I guess that was probably embarrassing for him. I'm sorry. But you know what? When you bring something to school that looks like a bomb, you are evasive in giving answers. You don't say, hey, talk to the engineering teacher, or, that teacher can show you and explain this. It's just a clock. You can't expect American society, given the reality of where we were in this world, where we are in this world, dealing with radical Islamic terrorism, you can't expect them to respond with, with just, well, we don't want to offend somebody, so I guess maybe if you tell us it's really just a clock, we'll let it go. It is incumbent on principals and teachers in our schools to protect students. It's incumbent on the police in our society to protect our fellow citizens from attacks from anyone, and in particular, from attacks that may come from radical Islam. If we let political correctness drown out the right idea of speaking up when you see something, the right idea of law enforcement, the right idea of protecting America's culture, then we are letting the left win a very, very deadly, crucial battle. In America, it's okay to speak up and to raise questions. It's okay to look out for each other. And, there are articles out talking about whether this entire thing was a setup, because this young man went right from this bomb-appearing device in school to being invited to the White House the same day, unlike many other students wrongly accused who never get invited to the White House, getting invited to come to Facebook, getting invited by Google, being treated like a hero, the family making a scene and calling press conferences and holding prayer vigils. When if you think about if it was your child, let's say it was your family, a Christian child, a white Christian child, built something at home, looked like a bomb, you as a parent, A, would probably not let them out of the door with it. And number two, if you did, you'd be pressing them to say, look, you need to be sure and explain to everyone who asks, this is a clock. I can show you how it works. And you would not. And if your child did get in trouble at school, you would be saying, I'm so sorry, school. I'm so sorry, principal and teacher, that I let this get away so that it caused everyone alarm. You wouldn't be belligerent. And that's how this family is behaving. A belligerent idea of false accusation, and that is unjustified in this case. Americans need to refuse to kowtow to political correctness. We need to stand up and speak up for America. This is Debbie Georgatos, and Ladies Can We Talk on 660 AM The Answer. We went a tiny bit long in this segment. We come back, we're going to play the interview I had just this past week with Judge Jeanine Pirro, a good friend of GOP presidential candidate Donald Trump, and you'll enjoy what she has to say. So come on back after the break to Ladies Can We Talk on 660 AM The Answer.